On a crisp Monday morning, James Carter stepped onto his porch, the steam from his coffee mug curling into the cool air. His private tour lake sparkled under the dawn light, promising a quiet day of fishing. But as his eyes swept the shoreline, he froze. A massive oakwood sign, as wide as his front door, stood boldly by the water's edge, its golden letters glinting. Ethan Larson Memorial Lake, gifted to the community by HOA President Laura Larson. Below, a drawing of a boy swimming was paired, with small text, dedicated to our future generation. Open to all community children. James blinked, his mind racing. Someone had claimed his lake as private property for the neighborhood, and Ethan Larson, Laura's teenage son, was very much alive, wasn't he? This wasn't just a mistake. It was an audacious power grab, and James could feel the tension brewing like a storm on the horizon. Laughter shattered the morning stillness. Ethan, phone in hand, was live streaming by the shore, his voice brash and confident. Yo, welcome to Ethan's Lake. Mom just gifted me this entire lake for my birthday. 2 acres of private water. Baby, who's coming to my pool party this weekend? Check it out on MidnightTales, my new favorite channel. Comments flooded his stream. Oh my god, so lucky. Your mom's the best. Ethan grinned, basking in the attention, his ego inflated by the digital cheers. Yeah, my mom's the HOA president. She basically runs this place. Nobody messes with us. James watched, stunned by the teenager's arrogance. Ethan genuinely believed his mother's position gave him unchecked power. Had Laura convinced him she was a small-town dictator, or was this just a spoiled kid raised to think the world owed him everything? James approached, keeping his voice steady but firm. Ethan, you and your mom need to remove that sign. This is my property. Ethan smirked, barely glancing up from his phone. Who are you, old man? I own this lake. He laughed, turning to his camera. Check this guy out, thinking he can stop us. Subscribe to MidnightTales for more drama. James' jaw tightened. This is private property, Ethan. The sign comes down now. Ethan waved him off, his tone dripping with condescension. Dude, my mom's the HOA president. She controls everything. This lake's community property now. She can do that. His viewers chimed in. Tell him, Ethan, HOA power. James smiled faintly, his eyes narrowing. Really? That's interesting. As if summoned by the confrontation, Laura Larson emerged from a nearby path, her blonde bob flawless, a fake designer handbag swinging from her arm. Her navy blazer and crisp white shirt screamed authority, but her eyes were sharp as daggers. Ethan, sweetie, what's going on? She cooed, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Ethan pointed, still filming. This guy wants our sign. Down, Mom. Laura turned to James, flashing a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. Good morning, James. I was going to discuss our exciting new community lake project with you. James didn't budge, his voice calm but unyielding. Remove the illegal sign from my property, Laura. Her smile held firm, but her eyes flickered with irritation. Oh, James, there's some confusion. This lake is now a community resource for our children. HOA rules complex property rights aren't absolute here. Ethan piped up, still streaming to his mid-fence. Yeah, Mom said, it's about community needs. Laura stroked her son's hair, her smile tightening. Exactly, sweetie. James met her gaze, a cryptic smile forming. I know HOA rules better than you think. Laura, her composure, faltered for a split second. Are you a lawyer, James? She asked, her tone probing. Let's just say I've been involved with HOAs longer than you realize. He replied, his voice steady as steel. Ethan, oblivious to the tension, kept streaming. Pool party, this Saturday. Guys, Mom's making it official. Follow me for the invite. Laura regained her footing, her voice smooth as silk. James, I hope we can resolve this amicably. The community's been informed about the lake project. One person's selfishness shouldn't cause problems for everyone. James stood his ground. Remove the sign. Laura, she stared, her eyes calculating, then pulled out her phone, her voice shifting to exaggerated panic. I'm sorry, James, but if you're hostile, she dialed 911, her performance Oscar-worthy. Yes, I need to report a dangerous situation. An aggressive man is threatening me and my son at our community lake. He's preventing children from accessing water. Ethan frowned, muttering, Mom, he didn't threaten us. Laura hissed. Shut up, Ethan. Within 10 minutes, Officer Ramirez arrived, his patrol car kicking up dust. Laura ran to him, distraught, her handbag clutched like a shield. Officer, this man's threatening us over a legally approved HOA project. Ramirez turned to James, his expression neutral. Sir, can I see ID and proof of ownership? James handed over his license and deed, his calm unshaken. Ramirez studied them, then eyed the sign. Ma'am, this lake belongs to Mr. Carter. Do you have documentation for this sign? Laura stammered, her confidence cracking. The HOA has rights community needs. Ramirez cut her off. Without legal documents, this is trespassing. Mr. Carter can demand its removal. Laura's face reddened as she stormed to her car, Ethan trailing, his live stream still rolling. This isn't over, James, she spat. I run this community, and I can make life very complicated for you. James watched her drive away, then dismantled the sign himself, tossing it into his garage. A storm was brewing, and Laura had no idea who she was up against. The next week, James' mailbox overflowed with HOA violation notices, each bearing Laura's elegant signature. Landscaping non-compliance. Excessive wild vegetation around lake. Fine. $500. The vegetation was century-old oaks and maples. Noise ordinance violation. Wildlife noise from frogs and birds. Fine. $300. Environmental hazard. Lake creates mosquito breeding ground. Fine. $800. The fines totaled $1,600, with aggressive 7-10-day deadlines. Meanwhile, Ethan flaunted his lavish lifestyle online, unboxing $200 t-shirts, test motorcycles, and dancing by the public pool with captions like, "When your mom runs the neighborhood." Follow Midnight Tales for more. James sat in his dark kitchen, the notices spread before him. Legal fees to fight would dwarf the fines. For a moment, he browsed rural properties online, tempted to flee, but the moonlight on his lake reminded him why he'd stayed. No, he wouldn't let one power-hungry woman destroy his peace. Then his phone buzzed with an email from Sarah, bookkeeper@gmail.com. James, I need to meet you urgently. Something's wrong with HOA finances. Don't tell anyone. The next morning, Sarah, a gray-haired bookkeeper, sat in James' cabin, her hands trembling. I've worked for this HOA for 8 years. James, Laura's forcing me to approve strange expenses $130,000 this month alone for community improvements that don't exist. She showed him documents. Lake cleanup consultation, $8,000. Safety assessment, $12,000. Landscaping fund, $10,000. She threatens to report me for improper bookkeeping if I question her. I can't afford legal trouble. James leaned forward. She's planning a $50,000 lake remediation project, isn't she? Sarah nodded. The company's owned by a Larson, her relative, I think. James smiled. Sarah, do you remember the budget manager position from the HOA's founding? Her eyes widened. I'd forgotten. It oversees expenditures. Over $5,000, but no one's used it in years. James pulled out a 2021 document. I was elected budget manager when the HOA formed. I can freeze accounts and demand an audit. Sarah gasped. You've had this power all along. James nodded. I never needed to use it until now. Monday evening, the community center was packed. Laura, in a sharp suit, presented her emergency lake remediation plan, complete with doctored photos of James Lake and fake health reports. This health hazard requires $50,000 for cleanup, she declared. A resident hesitated. That's steep. Can we get a second opinion? Laura's smile tightened. Delays could lead to legal liability. The motion passed with reluctant hands. Sarah, process the payment, Laura ordered. Sarah typed, then froze. The transaction's denied. Account frozen. Laura's composure cracked. Try again. Same result. She called the bank on speaker. Why is our transaction denied? The representative replied. Your account's under review by your budget manager, James Carter. Silence. Laura's face drained. Budget manager? That's impossible. James stood, holding documents. I've been budget manager since 2021. I requested a financial review for irregular activity. The room buzzed. Laura stammered. This is sabotage. James projected a slide. The Green Community Fund Laura claims she donated to, registered 4 days ago. No activities, no board, just Laura. Murmurs grew. Over 6 months, $30,000 went to Laura's family. $5,000 to Ethan for educational support. $8,000 to Larson Environmental. $10,000 to Laura's personal account. Residents gasped. Sarah added, Larson Environmental is her brother-in-law. A neighbor shouted, she paid her family with our money. Ethan stood, confused. Mom, you said it was your salary. Laura snapped. Tyler, shut up. James showed Ethan's MidnightTales posts. An $18,000 motorcycle, cash stacks, designer clothes, all captioned with thanks to his boss Lady Mom. Ethan broke, his voice trembling. I didn't know it was stolen. Mom said she earned it as president. A resident roared, the president's a volunteer, no salary. James played a recording of Laura threatening Sarah. The room erupted. A neighbor motioned to remove Laura and call the police. Every hand rose. Laura fled, Ethan trailing, tears streaming. Days later, Laura barricaded herself in the HOA office, shredding papers. She called the police, accusing James of fraud. Officer Ramirez arrived. Ma'am, he claims you're harassing him. James handed over his budget manager ID. Been monitoring finances since 2021. Laura embezzled $65,000, paid her family, and threatened Sarah. Sarah confirmed, she coerced me with legal threats. Ethan, sobbing, admitted, Mom said it was her business money. I didn't know, Laura screamed. It's a misunderstanding. I'll pay it back. Ramirez cuffed her. Victoria. Larson, you're under arrest for embezzlement and fraud. As she was led away, Ethan collapsed. "I'm sorry, Mom. I should have questioned it." 3 months later, James Lake was serene again. Laura got 18 months and $65,000 in restitution. Ethan sold his motorcycle, moved to his dad's, and started community service. Quieter now. Sarah thrived as financial officer with transparent budgets. James hosted weekly coffee by the lake, a new sign reading, "Carter Ranch Lake, community welcome by invitation." Neighbors fished or chatted, a real community forming. Ethan visited once. "Mr. Carter, why didn't you leave when Mom started this?" James smiled. "Running doesn't solve problems, Ethan. Sometimes you fight for what's right." As the sun set, James knew his community was finally honest, shared, and peaceful. Proof: the quietest person often holds the real power. But out there, more. Laura's were waiting, scheming in the shadows, ready to strike. Watch the full story unfold on MidnightTales. Subscribe now for more gripping tales.